With just 3 races remaining in the 7th season of the Fuel Grand National Series competition, we're in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado to celebrate the birthday of one of our own. Hi, hello, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Pikes Peak International Raceway for Race 9 of the Fuel Grand National Series, Pikes Peak at Pikes Peak. Welcome everyone to tonight's live intercast on the North American Sim Racing Network. My name is Trey Wright, joined alongside by the Colonel Caleb Rose. And with 3 races left in the season, Caleb, we could very well see the championship be clinched here tonight 2 races early by that number 88 car of Zach Rogers here, who's dominated the entire season so far. He could clinch the championship a couple of races early over Vincenzo Focusato.
This is definitely going to be a very interesting race to watch play out, especially with all the storylines and everything coming in. Like you mentioned, Rogers in a very good spot, potentially clinch here in tonight's race. But I definitely got a lot of storylines coming in. Of course, like you mentioned, we have one of our own here tonight, and definitely should be a very fun occasion there. But Pikes Peak Raceway, definitely a very interesting racetrack to say the least. Of course, here in Pikes Peak, Colorado, and this is just one of those tracks where the car will be slipping and sliding 1 second and will be plowing tight the next. So it's going to be quite a handful from these guys probably here tonight. Of course, with it being open setup, there could probably be a lot done to help alleviate that sort of thing, but just it's how the track is. So I definitely could expect a lot of slipping, sliding, a lot of plowing here tonight. But definitely should make for a very interesting and fun race here from Pikes Peak.
Definitely is going to be a fun race here tonight. Like you said, these guys are going to be on a slip and slide here, especially with these right rear tires wearing out a ton. But like we mentioned, got it celebrating the birthday of our own. A very happy birthday. Well wishes towards driver number 86 machine, Ike Durbin, who's looking for a nice birthday present here this evening in that Dark Matter Coffee Mazda from Millennium Autosport. But of course, like we said, driver of that number 88 machine, if we can find him on track, there's a look at Zach Rogers. You take a look at the point standings after the Talladega race 1 week ago. Zach Rogers leads the way by 178 points over Vincenzo Focusato coming into tonight. Focusato needs to finish no more than 5 positions ahead of Rogers to stay alive and have a little bit of a smidge of a chance to get back in the dance here for this championship. Nicky Conti currently runs 3rd in the point standings. The battle is on for 2nd right now between Focusato, Conti, and RJ Bishop, and Tyler Stallhood up a couple of spots, up to 3rd after up to 5th, I should say, after a runner-up finish at the Talladega Superspeedway 1 week ago. Ike Durbin looking for a 5th place run here in Season 7, Emmy Schizzato, Apollo Hyde, who is once again going to miss the race here tonight. More on that storyline later. But Hyde continues to fall back in the points, slipping back to 8th. Trek Togger, Blake Warren rounding out the top 10. Hafiola Sorensen and Dunn LaPrade round out the top 12. For the point standings here tonight at Pikes Peak, set to be a fun one here once again. For all of these drivers, there's a look at Tim Galay's number 39, Virgin's Cattle Company machine. And hold on to it, Tyler. And Ike Durbin is going to get in the outside wall, and, well, Trek Togger doing Trek Togger things there in the 60, finished in 3rd in last week's race out the Talladega Superspeedway. A couple of drivers with some new paint jobs here. Glad to see Connor Edwards back on the circuits in that 02 Bauer Chevrolet. And a new number this week for Corbin Wentz in the number 21 American Dream Settlement Services car. Focusato going around in the corner. We've only got a handful of moments left here, Caleb, until we'll set them off for qualifying. But this is going to be a very interesting race here tonight, like we said. Tire wear is going to be a key factor. We'll take a look at the race analysis on the other side of qualifying here, but again, these guys are going to be very, very dicey racing around this flat oval.
Yeah, definitely, and like you said, the tire degradation that we're probably going to see here at this racetrack tonight is definitely probably going to play into kind of like what I mentioned earlier, these guys just slipping and sliding around this racetrack. So these guys will like I said, these guys will definitely have a handful with these cars, but they'll also have to try and do a good job here at managing these tires as this race does end up playing along. But yeah, definitely seeing it at play here in practice. See a lot of these guys just slipping and sliding around these racetracks, especially on the long runs and once those tires start to really wear out. So yeah, this could definitely play into some very interesting effects once we get into the race.
It definitely will. These guys, like we said, they're going to be on the slip and slide. They're on marbles. What they're going to be having the banana peel from Mario Kart, whatever your poison. That is what these drivers are going to be experiencing here this evening. But it's going to be a fantastic race. Zach Rogers, top of the board in practice. We'll take a couple of moments to get the qualifying things kicked off here, but overall, Caleb, set to be a great final 3 races of the season. We've got Pikes Peak here tonight, St. Felician for the Halloween race next Wednesday evening, and then, of course, Homestead, Miami for the final race of the season. We're getting towards the end of the Fuel calendar schedule here tonight. Over these next couple of weeks, we got the Fuel Sportsman season finale later on. That'll be a tape-delayed broadcast. More on that later, but got a lot going on here in the Fuel Racing League, Caleb, and a lot of fun stuff here as well.
Absolutely. Like we're still really starting to get down to it here, but it has been a very exciting season. Despite the fact that Zach Rogers has absolutely dominated the season so far up to this point, it's been a lot of fun week in and week out. And it's definitely going to be really interesting to see. It will be interesting to see if Rogers can maybe clinch here coming out of tonight's race. Can Vincenzo Focusato stay alive? And all the storylines in between, definitely going to be very fun to see how they play out in tonight's race. But already as first laps start to come in, already looking pretty good for the driver, that number 88.
He definitely is right off the gun in qualifying at 26.756. Batala Aziz, who was in here for their 3rd race of the season. Haven't seen them around since the 2nd race of the season. Earlier on, I'm trying to remember what that 2nd race of the season was. That was Watkins Glen. Actually, I don't even think Tala raced at Watkins Glen. I think this is the first time since Darlington that we've seen that 14 car on track. 2/10 of a second off in terms of qualifying with 1:10 to go in queue. Vincenzo Focusato right now running in 3rd for qualifying. And everybody else just trying to shuffle their way into the queue here. It's definitely going to be a fun one here tonight, Caleb, that is for sure.
Definitely have to see how it all ends up shaking out here once the flying qualifying laps come in, but definitely going to be a very, very fun race here tonight. Got definitely have a solid field. Nice to see Tala Aziz back here in the Grand National Series. And definitely going to be really interesting to see how that 14 machine will do here tonight. Already looking pretty sporty qualifying right now in the 2nd position, but we'll see if we see any updates here in qualifying. But like I said, Zach Rogers with a flying lap there the first time around at least. And looks like he might just end up taking the pole here tonight.
Wouldn't surprise me if he did, but he's going to have Tala right behind him. Of course, Tala has been very consistent whenever they've been on the racetrack, which has been quite a lot. Hasn't been quite a lot, but nonetheless has been pretty consistent overall. That's going to do it here for qualifying. Only one driver failing to qualify. That was Corbin Wentz, who will end up starting in the 16th spot here this evening at the Pikes Peak International Raceway as we'll get things kicked off here for happy hour. So take a look at your starting order for tonight's Pikes Peak at Pikes Peak. Zach Rogers and Tala Aziz making up the front row here this evening with Vincenzo Focusato, Crystal Bennett in row 2. RJ Bishop will round out the top 5. Tyler Stallhood starting in 6th in that baby driver number 7 machine. Drew Fast and Nicky Conti round out row 4. Rounding out the top 10 are Emmy Schizzato and Brendan Whitford. Ike Durbin and Trek Togger in row 6. Connor Edwards and Blake Warren in row 7. And Tim Gallade Jr. and Corbin Wentz will round out the 16-car field here at Pikes Peak International as we get another good look at that 0-2 machine of Connor Edwards. But it's going to be a great race here this evening as Edwards going to blink in and out. There's a good look at Tala Aziz's number 14 Mustang Dark Horse. The Allied Do It Right number 14 machine. Getting ready to chew bubblegum and spin that 14 car around through turns 3 and 4. But taking a look at the race analysis for tonight, again, it's going to be an 80-lap race, so about 85 miles at this track that is just a hair over a mile long. It's a very flat track, only 10 degrees of banking in the corners. That's flatter than the Martinsville Speedway, so that's how you know we've got a track pretty flat out here, which is ironic given that this track is in the middle of the Rockies. Pit road speed, so 65 miles an hour, and then Zach Rogers is going to have a 1 to 2 he said we're going to have about a tire fall off of 1 to 2 seconds. A fuel run of about maybe 42 to 47 laps depending on strategy, because Caleb, this is going to be a very good strategy race here tonight as we get a look at the track map.
Absolutely. The fuel window kind of split right down there through the middle, but I definitely think tires are going to make this quite interesting. It's really going to play into when you end up deciding to come down the pit lane. Yeah, like I said, with how everything is set up, definitely has the setups for a really very interesting strategy race. It's going to be very fun to see how that plays into tonight's race as well. But yeah, 1 to 2 seconds of fall off, especially at a track as small as this, that's definitely nothing to scoff at.
It definitely is, as we get another good look at Zach Rogers and that Digital Storm number 88 machine that has gotten a ton of screen time over these last couple of weeks. As we'll take a look at some of the other drivers through the field. There's Brendan Whitford in the 131 machine. Got a new sponsor on the hood here tonight on that 131 car. If we can get to our entry list. He's got the Green Diamond Circuit Labs on the hood for that number 131 machine. Getting a good look at the front end logo on that number 131 machine. Target is back on the hood for Emmy Skizada, who has been through more paint schemes than I can count here so far in Season 7. There's Crystal Bennett looking to make it 2 wins in a row after a dicey last lap pass for the win at the Talladega Superspeedway last week. That Mike Skinner throwback car, Corbin Wentz and Drew Fast trying to make their way around turns 3 and 4. Trek Togger right in front of Tala Aziz. And that's all the drivers right now. Out on track, there's a good look at Tim Galley Jr.'s number 39 Virgin's Cattle Co. machine for Tim Galley Racing. With about 67 seconds to go here in happy hour, Caleb. What are your expectations here for tonight's race, and who is your pick to win Pikes Peak at Pikes Peak?
Yeah, like I said, it's definitely going to be a very interesting race, and I'm definitely excited to see how it ends up shaking out with all the factors in play. But as for the race winner, you know what, I got to go for it. I think I got my eyes, of course, on the 88 of Zach Rogers. Already is proven to be very sporty here at this racetrack. Sit down a really good time in practice as well as qualifying. But might have some competitors. Tala Aziz definitely looking very fast. Vincenzo Focusato, of course, trying to keep his championship hopes alive. He might definitely have a bit of competition here tonight, but that 88 of Rogers, he's been fast all season long, and I think he's going to get another win to add to that tally here tonight.
He's already got 6 wins on the season, has won 4/5 of the contest so far. The other 2 were Jelaine Sims winning in the Team Velocity 1-2 finish in Mid-Ohio, and then Crystal Bennett winning at the Talladega Superspeedway last week of the lone plate track on the schedule for Season 7. Got a couple of moments until we'll turn them on and grid them up here on the back straightaway. Would like to once again thank everybody for tuning in to tonight's broadcast and every broadcast we have had so far this season here for the Fuel Racing League, whether it's been for the Grand National Division or the Sportsman Division. Got one more race slated for the Sportsman Division as Dunlop Prod has locked up the championship. One race early for the Sportsman Series, but then could have another championship clinching scenario here this evening. But Caleb, you know that this is such a fun league with the amount of storylines there are, that we've got a couple of drivers clinching the championship a handful of races early, and there's still plenty to talk about, plenty of storylines and fun little moments to talk about as RJ Bishop will dive into the corner. I think that's no better way to translate to the race as we're on the back straightaway.
Drivers,
it's go time.
To your cars.
Here at Pikes Peak International, as we'll send it downstairs for the most famous words in motorsports to kick off tonight's Pikes Peak at Pikes Peak here at Pikes Peak International Raceway.
Drivers, start your engines!
We're ready to rock and roll here for 80 laps around this just over a mile track. Zach Rogers on the pole position, Tala Aziz on the outside pole. Row 2, Focusato and Bennett. Row 3, Bishop and Stallhood. Row 4, Fast and Conti. The field already rolling off here for 85 miles around this just over a mile long flat oval here in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. Zach Rogers needs 5 positions ahead of Vincenzo Focusato to clinch the championship. He starts on the pole position. We're green flag racing here at Pikes Peak.
Boogity, boogity, boogity.
Tim Galley Jr. up into the outside wall in turns 1 and 2. He might have already retired from the race. That is a very tough break for Tim Galley Jr. Nope, he's back out here. I think he's got some pretty bad internet issues right off of the gun. But speaking of right off of the gun, Zach Rogers leads the way in the 88 machine as Galley Jr. down to the inside. I believe he had to start from the pit area after having some connectivity issues right off the start. But it's Rogers, Aziz, and Bennett right now at the podium. Here on lap number 2 of the event, Focusato right now 4 positions back of that 88 car. Focusato needs to be within 4 positions to keep his hopes at a championship alive. Rogers, however, bugging in and out there. Very odd connectivity issues there we're not used to seeing out of Rogers, and could that potentially factor into tonight's race? We got a lot of cars hitting the outside wall off of turn number 2, Caleb.
Definitely, and honestly, that's probably the result of drivers just chasing that car up the racetrack, trying to keep it from spinning out, and unfortunately getting into the outside wall there. Seeing a lot there off of turn number 2.
Oh, Bennett underneath the 14, and she's gonna go around. We got one more car up in the outside wall, another going around. That was Connor Edwards. That spun the 02 machine around, and that was about 3 single car incidents. No caution, and a heartbreaker for the driver of the number 84 Lowe's Dodge Charger. Bennett was running in 3rd, was gunning for 2nd, and unfortunately spinning that 84 machine around, and will go to the tail end of the field. That is a gut punch.
Definitely. Oh, Conti hard on the outside wall. Off of turn number 2, we're really seeing these guys slipping and sliding around this racetrack here in the early stages. A lot of guys in the outside wall, and unfortunately there, Bennett and Edwards going around there in 1 and 2. That's such a tough break there for both those drivers, but my goodness, this has been a chaotic start to this race, and like I was kind of just touching on there, Tyler Stallwood just had a crazy save in that 7. That thing was absolutely sideways, and of course, in that baby driver scheme, funny story, you ran that scheme in another series that I called a couple days ago, and also had an incredible save there as well. So, baby driver colors doing wonders there for the 7 of Tyler Stallwood.
He's been driving that baby around. Again, he had that impressive save at the Talladega Superspeedway 1 week ago. He's going to lose a spot and fall outside of the top 5 as Drew Fast trying to make some headway there in car number 4. 4-car breakaway, and here we go for the race lead. Aziz with the slide job, and here comes the crossover. Not able to just get the crossover in time, and Tala Aziz will go to the race lead in the ally number 14, and here comes Focusato right behind Rogers. But again, Rogers biding his time here on this opening run, trying to save up a lot of his stuff, got loose behind the 14, and here he comes for the crossover. Focusato right in front of the 28 machine. 2 instances of double file. Here is all 4 of the top 4 underneath a blanket right now. They've checked out from the rest of the field. Fast is about 3 seconds back. Ike Durbin right now rounding out the top 5. Make that Nicky Conti rounding out the top 5. Ike Durbin runs in 6th. And look at all 4 of these cars on top of one another like peanut butter and jelly, Caleb. Oh, Focusato tracks up the racetrack. Here comes Bishop with a crossover to the inside. He'll take that final podium spot away. And right now, the battle for the lead continues to rage between Rogers and Aziz.
This is getting crazy up here at the front of the field. Rogers takes the lead back, and that 37 Focusado there looked to get really tight there through 3 and 4, and loses the 3rd position there to, I believe, teammate, the 28 of RJ Bishop. And Bishop's looking pretty sporty in 28. Got a good run there off of turn 4. Looking to the outside of Aziz. Aziz going to try and shut the door, but Bishop going to try to force the issue around the outside. See if he can stay at the quarter panel here through 1 and 2. Aziz will have a good run there on the inside and will stay clear. But RJ Bishop looking really sporty here in the early stages of this race.
Yeah, he's trying to wheel that Super Flow Mazda around the corner. Was working on the outside, but lost a little bit of a grip there. Lost a little bit of time off the corner. Rogers and Aziz continuing to fight with this race lead, and Ike Durbin, the birthday boy, had some sort of issue.
Oh, no.
As I believe he may have went around. Corbin Wentz is down the pit lane.
Man.
That's a tough break for Ike Durbin. Not sure what the issue was. We'll review all incidents at the end of the race. But right now, Zach Rogers leading 12 laps into the Ike's Peak at Pikes Peak. Wentz down into the pit area. I'm not sure if he might be calling it a night, or he might just try. I don't know. He might be trying to take some tire wear there in that 21 machine, and he is just going to do a 4-tire pit stop for that number 21 car. And these top 4 battling have brought Drew Fast back into the battle. It's 5 cars fighting for spots, jockeying for positions, and it's 2 drivers that have been the class of the field right now in both Rogers and Aziz. And Bishop hasn't been holding back a whole lot. He's up to 3rd, and Focusado knows that his chances of this championship are fleeting. He needs to run a perfect race here, and just needs to run absolutely perfect over these next couple of weeks. But he also needs to hope that Zach Rogers has a hurricane hit his house or something.
Boy, Aziz got on the apron there in 3 and 4. Bishop got a great run, looking to the outside. Once again, off of turn 4, had a much better run that time. Now side by side through turns 1 and 2. See if Bishop can maybe stick the outside. Not quite, almost got up into the outside wall, barely kept it off. But Bishop, that was a solid rally there. Almost got the 14 of Aziz there for second. Yeah, Focusado right now probably just trying to hang on for dear life. Right now he's in the 4th position, which would, I'm pretty sure, be the bare minimum for him to stay within championship range of the 88 of Zach Rogers. Yeah, he needs a good run here today. Right now, looking to try and deliver on that, but still got a long ways left to go in this race.
We definitely do, Caleb. We have got 64 laps to go when they cross under the start-finish line this next time by. Not even a quarter of the way through the race, but Zach Rogers has led the most laps here this afternoon. Lap number 14 led in front of that number 14 machine. 5 cars continuing to break away from the rest of the field, and the caution flag has come out. Somebody has gone around. I believe it may have been Corbin Wentz or Tyler Stallhood. Stallhood a little bit off the pace there in the 7 by the potential looks of it. But we're under our first caution flag of the evening here at Pikes Peak International. And that's a good break for Ike Durbin and Crystal Bennett, who are on the tail end of the lead lap. And we're only a handful of laps away from potentially going down a lap, and that's going to bring everybody down into the pit area for the opening cycle of pit stops here this evening. This could make things interesting strategy-wise towards the tail end of the race, Kayla, because we expect these guys to come down right at the midway point, cut this race in half. But a nice green flag run to really start things off here, a 17-lap green flag run. But ultimately, caution coming out. We got drivers coming down the pit lane. We could see some more drivers play the strategy game to an interesting tee if this race will go caution-free for the rest of it, as everybody looked very clean right off of the initial start.
to see how this race ends up shaking out. But that's definitely going to make things interesting. Like you mentioned, we were, I guess, looking at a pit stop about halfway through the race, and now got a caution flag just about halfway to the halfway point. So probably going to set up the pit stop to be in probably around the last quarter of the race. So that could definitely maybe get interesting on the strategy side of things there.
Definitely could, as we only had one change in position on the pit area that last time by. Focusado was able to get around the 28 machine. RJ.
Oh,
Speeding
boy.
penalty, sector number 8. And RJ Bishop will go to the boondocks for a speeding penalty by the looks of it. And that is going to be a tough pill to swallow. And that was after Bishop was getting caught, or that was after Bishop was beat out on the pit lane there by Focusado. I think he gunned it right at the end to the pit lane. Based on timing and scoring, he's going to have to serve a penalty. And he might as well put on 4 fresh Mr. Feelgoods back onto that number 28 machine, and he'll be out and away. Blake Warren and Tim Galley Jr. back down the pit lane as well. I believe Warren was the free pass. All 16 cars still on the lead lap, or all in the server. 14 cars on the lead lap. Corbin Wentz and Connor Edwards are each 2 laps down apiece. And Tim Galley Jr. now getting a black flag in that number 39 machine, so he'll have to come down and serve it. Come into the choose cone. Rogers will take the inside lane. Glad to see Drew Fast up inside the top 5 once again. He's now up to 4th, and Focusado right behind his championship adversary. But looking for the big picture here is Focusado. As we mentioned it a little bit earlier, we alluded to it earlier on, I should say, was Focusado with a 22-point lead in the overall 2025 championship standings over Apollo Hyde. With the amount of races that Hyde has missed here in Season 7, that once triple-digit gap has been closed and surpassed. So, looking for a nice day. You'd love to get the Season 7 championship, even with some bizarre circumstances. You'd love to get that title, but looking big picture for the overall 2025 championship is the driver of that number 37 machine of Vincenzo Focusado. Pace car back down the pit lane. 59 laps to go when we cross under the start-finish line. Green flag back out in the air here at Pikes Peak.
Great restart there from the top 2, Rogers and Aziz. Already trying to pull away from the rest of the field. Already jumped down to the inside. Drew Fast trying to go around the outside of Vincenzo Focusado. Right there in the 131, trying to hold on to the 5th position. Had a good jump there on the start.
Oh, Schizzato lost the corner going into 3 and 4. And she's going to track way up the track. And that target number 9 did not hit her target going into the apex of 3 and 4. And the dominant driver of the Sportsman race at Grand Junction last night will go the wrong direction in the 9. And Rafaela Sorensen to help her out this evening. And a tough pill to swallow right off the restart for Schizzato, but will fall back in the clutches of Crystal Bennett. Great to see Bennett back inside the dance as the 84 has gotten around the 85 of Nikki Conti. Top 3 trying to pull away a little bit. Drew Fast now up inside the podium. And how about Brendan Whitford right now rocking P5 in that 131 machine? That's the highest we've seen him run all season long. Bennett nearly got into Conti off of turn 2. Those two nearly collecting each other for our second yellow flag of the evening. Tala Aziz to the inside of the number 88 machine. We'll see if she's able to make the pass stick. Looking for the slide job move. She'll complete it. Now Rogers will go back on the offensive. Got very squirrely out of the corner. And here comes Drew Fast trying to move underneath the Digital Storm number 88 car. A little bit of a slide job, tracks up the track, and he's able to hold on to that KDS or KSDT machine. Fast now in second. He's got a fast car. Rogers trying to play back on the offensive. Up the racetrack goes Whitford. He's up in this battle. And another 5-car breakaway. And 1 car going around to the back. That is the 12 of Blake Warren. Single car spin for the Menards number 12 Ford. Ike Durbin has also gone around once again. And this birthday bash starting to turn into a little bit of a nightmare here at Pikes Peak for Ike Durbin. He will fall down to 14th. And a tough break for Ike. He got tangled together. Another single car spin. Here comes fast underneath of Aziz. Another drag race here for the race lead. Fast, tight through the center of the corner. Up the racetrack he goes, pinning Tala up high on that outside groove. They're still side by side as Rogers biding his time, waiting in third. The last thing you want to do is burn up your stuff on this initial run, and he's going to let both Tala and Drew to do exactly that. Now Rogers will go on the offensive. To the inside of the outline, number 14 goes the 88 machine.
Fast in the 4 now to the race lead. Aziz back to second, holding off the 88 of Zach Rogers for now. But Posado there still chilling in the 4th position. Brennan Whitford having a really solid run up in the 5th position. You got Nicky Conti in 6th, and RJ Bishop looking to try and make some headway there in the 28, trying to move his way back through the field, trying to go after the 84 Crystal Bennett there for the 7th position. But the battle is still more than on up front as Aziz trying to stay with that 4 car of Drew Fast. Rogers and Posado
Oh, and
still
there goes
balling,
Bennett around! Bennett got loose out of the corner by the looks of it, and another single car spin here at Pikes Peak. Another spin out of last week's winner at Talladega, and Bennett will go towards the tail end of the field, and by the looks of it, doesn't look like that. RJ Bishop touched the back end of the 84 machine, but another tough pill to swallow for one of the dominant drivers in last week's harrowing race at the Talladega Superspeedway.
So far from Pikes Peak. We're still not even halfway home yet. Still a lot that can go down here in the second half of the race, but that's a tough pill there to swallow for the 84 Crystal Bennett. Looking to try and turn the race around after a spin earlier on in the race, and unfortunately, once again, that 84 just got out from underneath them. That's a really tough break there for Bennett, but still getting quite chaotic here throughout the rest of the field. As top 3 kind of still all on each other. Posado maybe dropping back a little bit, but still there within range of the top 3. As Rogers with a good run here on Aziz, maybe looking to try and take second back.
Was trying to move to the outside, thought he was going to sell a dummy and dive to the inside there. Rogers, Aziz leaving the bottom open. Here comes Rogers. He's going to easily take that position away. Or not, as he's got the run off the corner, got a little bit of a bobble there on the outside. Bishop into the outside wall, back behind them, they're out of mind, and Rogers will look for the crossover in front of the 14, and the Bulldog back in the second spot here, and he's trying to track down Drew Fast, who's now moving underneath of Blake Warren. Warren goes up the racetrack as the lap down car, getting the heck out of the way. He gets way out of the way and nearly gets run over by Folcasato. Vincenzo will move to the inside of the stricken 12 machine. And the battle is on for the race lead as Drew Fast under fire from the 88 of Zach Rogers. And we have seen Drew Fast up in a lot of these races over the course of this 7th season of Fuel Grand National competition, Caleb. But he's not been able to put it together for a top 5 run just yet, neither a podium either. Could today be the day that he potentially gets a podium here? But he has ran a really good race, but Rogers has been saving a lot of his stuff. That's why we've seen him back in 3rd, untraditionally back in the 3rd spot, and he's grabbing an extra gear. He's got a little bit more better feeling tires than Drew Fast has got right now, I believe, and about midway through this tire and fuel run. Rogers is going to definitely have the advantage. He's going to go right on the offensive, Trying to move to the outside of Drew, going through 3 and 4. Drew will shut the door, and Rogers will slow back up. Now he's got a run, crossing over to the inside. A little bit of a bobble out of the 4. Here comes Tola to make it a 3-horse race. Ike Durbin watching this battle out of his rear view mirror, hoping that he is not going to get in the way. And Zach Rogers back to the point, fast now under fire from Aziz. And Focusano continuing to hold fast here with this top quartet. Focusano now looking for a little bit of a run, as Fast is going to lose 2 positions on a single lap here. Aziz will slot back in second, and now 1 car sideways through the exit of 4. That's Corbin Wentz, who will pull it off to the inside. Blake Warren also spinning off of turn 4. So a couple of drivers with some trouble towards the tail end of the field, and Corbin Wentz will pull it behind the wall, and now Connor Edwards spins in turns 3 and 4. That's right in front of the leaders. Don't go back up the track, Connor. He's able to save it and will remain green.
Goodness. What's going on here from Pikes Peak? Don't really know where to look.
It's definitely turning into an Ike Durbin sponsored race. If you know, you know. Top 4 on top of one another. Coming to halfway home this next time by, Zach Rogers, who has led the most laps here tonight, has been under fire from a handful of drivers. His 25th lap led of the evening. Speaking of Ike, he'll be put a lap down here. Same thing with Tyler Stallhood. Oh, Edwards spinning out on the entry or the exit of the pit area. And that Bauer machine is running very loose here tonight. Same thing for Tyler Stallhood. We'll cut back down the racetrack. Fast running on the back end of the 7 car. Now that's going to split up this quartet a little bit here, with Fast trying to traverse around the lap traffic. Focusado looking to get a little bit of a lane above the 4 machine.
Got a runner off of turn 2.
He's got a run. He'll poke his nose to the inside. Stallhood way down the track, swinging down into the pit area, and I think he's going to come down here. As we're past the midway point, these guys mathematically can make it to the end on both tires and fuel with a pit stop here and now. We're officially past the midway point in this race, but we'll have to see if these guys, when these guys come down the pit lane. I would imagine that given strategy, these guys coming down probably within the next 5 laps or so would be my personal gauge. Tim Galley Jr. next up on the chopping block, that number 39 machine. But it's Rogers, Aziz, and now Focusado has found his way inside the podium. So Focusado is not dead yet when it comes to the championship battle. Of course, something could happen. Mechanical failure, could be caught up in an accident or whatever the heck. But nonetheless, Focusado running a cool P3 right now, and caught in the middle of a lot of lap traffic is Zach Rogers. He's caught the tail end of the field. Gallade Jr. will surrender to the outside of the race leader. Connor Edwards, who has been a very big wild card so far in this race, next up in line to be put a lap down. Same thing for the 84 of Bennett, as is Trek Togger. Oh, Rogers going to have to navigate his way through a lot of lap traffic. Edwards trying to move to the outside. Bennett up in the outside wall. And Togger will abide by to let the race leader through. And these guys, it's fun watching these guys try and race around lap traffic. Fast thought about making it 3 wide through a couple of lap down cars. Gallade Jr. up the racetrack. Fast looking for a little bit of a lane. Togger up the track as well. Fast making it 3 wide, going into turns 3 and 4. And he's able to make the passes, everybody on top of one another. And somehow, fortunately, we did not get a wreck in all of that nonsense with all these lap down drivers racing one another very aggressively, just like we see at the ARCA level. Lap down drivers on the same lap, fighting for the same piece of real estate. Connor Edwards blinking in and out there in the 0-2, and now Trek Togger will come down the pit lane. Same thing with RJ Bishop, and here we go. Lap number 47 of the event. We're going to start to see these lead lap drivers hit the pit lane here for their final pit stop of the evening. if this race goes caution-free, and this is where races can be won or lost, Caleb.
Yeah, definitely, and like you kind of touched on, strategy is definitely going to be very, very interesting, especially with that caution flag probably really throwing a wrench into things. Of course, the original window was around halfway home, so... But with that caution flag, that could theoretically about stretch the window to around maybe about lap 60. So definitely extending the window quite a bit. So definitely a lot of different strategy options for these guys. And because the big question is, do you want to come down earlier? Do you want to come down, maybe wait a little bit, get some fresher tires later on in the run? Looks like RJ Bishop in the 28 looking to try and undercut everybody else, get the fresher tires now, and try to make up some time here on the short run and try and maybe defend on the long run. So this is definitely going to get very interesting, and it's going to be very intriguing to see what all these guys decide to do here.
Yeah, if I'm Tala, I'm going to try and come down the pit lane a little bit later, maybe a lap or two later than Rogers. Because we know how good Zach is at conserving his tires and playing on the defensive, but also being very conservative with saving his rubber. So if I'm Tala, I'm going to wait maybe 2 laps for after Rogers will come down the pit lane. But we also know Zach. He's able to stretch fuel out a lot better than a lot of other drivers. So trying to strategize against Zach Rogers is like trying to strategize around Sun Tzu in a Hungarian war. I probably butchered that historical reference. It's like, I don't know. It's like it's the hunt for Red October. It's like trying to find the Red October. It's a very difficult strategy, but if you're able to pull it off, you'll be able to have a nice strategy and have a go towards the race leaders. We're coming around to 30 laps to go past the midway point in tonight's contest here at Pikes Peak International. Fastest lap of the event belonging to Crystal Bennett, a 27.430. Second lap here around the mile-long Pikes Peak International, 29 laps to go. Here in tonight's contest, it has been a good one so far. Only one caution for incident, but we had incidents aplenty. So far this evening, we're definitely going to have some nice green flag pit stops here in just a couple of moments. And now Tala,
here we go.
Tala is going to go with an undercut in the 14. That is a very bold strategy.
Honestly, kind of like it, because you don't want to wait too late, or the tire advantage later on in the run won't be as powerful, with it only being probably about 20 laps. So I'm definitely intrigued in this. Have to see what Tala can do here with this strategy. This is definitely getting very interesting. Have to see how Rogers responds. He's going to continue to stay out on the racetrack. So is Focusato, who is closing into the 88 of Rogers.
Yeah, Focusato lost a little bit of time there through 3 and 4 that time around. These two checking out from the rest of the field. Drew Fast back in third, 4.5 seconds back, and then beyond them, it's Tala Aziz, who's still rocking fourth the last time by, but now it's Nicky Conti who has found themselves inside the top 5. For the majority of the night so far, Aziz will come out of the pit lane 1 lap down thanks to the strategy call. Now Rogers, when does he come down the pit lane? I think the ball is definitely in Rogers' court here tonight, that's for sure. He's very, very strong on these short, flat ovals. You know, the more technical the track, the better Rogers is, and we've seen time and time again him being able to dominate. Hasn't dominated wire to wire like we've typically seen him do. He's had a lot of competition with both Aziz and Fast getting some laps led here this evening. But overall, for the time being right now, Zach Rogers, the class of the field, and Vincenzo Focusato. I think Focusato is trying to stay out maybe 1 lap later than Zach Rogers is, because he's trying to get at least a 1 lap lead bonus, trying to get as much ground as he can. But you can see very wide through the corner there for Focusato. He's definitely burning up those right side tires. 1 car going around. It's Tyler Stallhood. Single car spin off of turns 3 and 4. Underneath the 37, gingerly trying to move around that Momo Mazda. And I think tonight might be the night that Stallhood might go back from the baby driver scheme Had some good success with it. Had Talladega last week, like you said, as well as the Fast Racing League. I'm pretty sure you were talking about, alluding to a little bit earlier on. But Stallhood right now 2 laps down that last time by. Right now running in 13th. And he nearly just about loses it going into turns 1 and 2 once again. Brendan Whitford will make his final pit stop of the evening. Will be on the tail end of the lead lap. The top 2 have yet to make their final pit stop of the night.
Definitely stretching this final pit stop quite long is Rogers and Focusato. Tala Aziz is cooking in that 14th set, one of the faster laps of the race. The new fastest lap actually belongs to the 28 of RJ Bishop with a 27.380. Aziz was able to put down a 27.386. So this 14 and the 28 for that matter is absolutely hauling the mail right now. So this could definitely get very, very interesting as we head here to the final 21 laps of this race. I just might have got a little bit tight there off the exit of the corner, maybe even a little swirly as well. Started out on the 37, starting to lose a little bit of time. So I do wonder when these two are eventually going to come down the pit lane, because you can definitely tell the tire wear is really hitting these two like a brick right now.
It definitely is, and they're the only two that have not come down the pit lane just yet. Rogers,
still staying
Focusato,
out.
and Schizzato. Now
Here
Rogers,
comes
with
Rogers
a very late pit stop, catching the 37 off guard. He came down the pit lane very hot there for the 88, and Focusato will lead a lap there, so he'll get a lap-led bonus. I believe now Focusato is going to pull the trigger and come down the pit lane. Emi Schizzato is not come down the pit lane. I'm not sure. I don't know where Schizzato is on track. I probably missed her at some point. Am I bugging out, or is Emi Schizzato not on track right now? Alright, that's a little bit concerning, but Focusato down the pit lane. I'm trying to find where Emi Schizzato is. Stallhood up the track. What a save out of the 7.
Schizzato might have lost connection, but Aziz has cycled out ahead of Zach Rogers.
Oh, and that undercut might work here in the short run, but Aziz coming down, what was it, about 5-6 laps earlier than Rogers? What did we say? What was the lap that she came down? Lap number 47?
I think it was 50. It was around, I think, lap 52.
Oh, that is an 8-lap advantage there for Rogers. He's trying to steamroll Tim Gallade Jr. into the outside wall, and Focusato will come way out away from Zach Rogers. But now the fight is on as Aziz trying to hold on, but that is a gut punch there for that number 9 machine. Nothing you can really do there. It's Focusato. Yeah, it's Talia Aziz as everything will officially cycle out with 18 laps to go, and RJ Bishop now up to 3rd. So Bishop was able to leapfrog ahead of Focusato. So now Focusato needs to be more concerned about playing defense. He's got Drew Fast right behind him in the 4. Durbin back down the pit lane. We've got under 20 laps to go here in tonight's race, and the battle is on for the race lead. But before we'll get into that battle, we'll go downstairs for a snap-on race break. We'll quickly go through the field presented by Fram. Tala Aziz leads the way in position number 1, but Zach Rogers hard on her heels there in that 88. RJ Bishop running in 3rd. Vincenzo Focusato runs 4th. Drew Fast runs 5th. Tim Gallade Jr. running in 9th. Tyler Stallhood in 12th. Emi Schizzato right now in 14th, a handful of laps down after an unfortunate technical error. Nicky Conti in 6th. Ike Durbin is 8th. Blake Warren 13th. Brendan Whitford runs in 7th. Trek Togger 11th. See if we're missing anybody. Tim Gallade Jr. will hit the outside wall. Stallhood 12th, like we said. Conti runs in 6th. Warren, Crystal Bennett runs in 10th. And that will do it here for our full field rundown for tonight's race. It'll be 15 laps to go when Tala Aziz will cross the start-finish line this time by. Last time by, the gap between the 14 and the 88 was under a second. It's probably going to be about maybe half a second between the two adversaries as Rogers is a-coming.
right on the dot there. Half a second now between the 14 of Aziz and the 88 of Rogers. Rogers is absolutely hauling on those fresh tires. And I guess speaking of which, fastest lap before that 88 came down pit road was a 28.3. That 88 is set, or a 27.3, excuse me. That 88 has set a 27.1. And he's all over the back bumper of the 14 of Aziz, looking to go around the outside.
He's hauling the freight there in that Digital Storm Camaro. To the outside goes the Bulldog. Tala Aziz trying to hold on those older tires, but it's not going to be enough. It looks like they're door-to-door down the back straightaway. Rogers not able to complete the pass down the back, and Aziz looking for the slide job. Rogers able to haul the mail through 3 and 4, and he'll be back out front in that Camaro.
What a pass there by the 88 of Zach Rogers. We'll have to see if Aziz can stay with that 88. I don't know. Those tires on the 14 might be a bit too worn at this point, as Rogers looking to try and pull away. Coming this time by to 11 laps to go. Still got some lap traffic. A little bit of lap traffic up the road. You got the 86 of Ike Durbin and the 131 of Brendan Whitford. Have to see if Rogers can cleanly maneuver around these guys, but he is pulling away from that 14 of Aziz. That gap now half a second back to the 14. Got RJ Bishop trying to hang on to third, and Focusado trying to do everything he can right now, holding on to the fourth position, trying to close in on his teammate for third.
And now you go back in this championship battle as Drew Fast trying to catch back up, and now RJ Bishop into the outside wall.
Close.
Here comes Focusado to the inside of the 28 machine. Focusado looking for a little bit of daylight for next week's race at St. Felician. But RJ Bishop right behind that 37 machine. Focusado now up to third, as Bishop has been a bucking bronco so far in this race. 10 laps to go. In Ike's Peak at Pikes Peak, now making 9 laps to go as Zach Rogers will flash onto the start-finish line. Lap traffic still in the way in front of that Camaro. You've got Ike Durbin and Blake Warren, a couple of drivers that have gotten into some single-car incidents so far tonight. Warren trying to shoot down to the inside, and now he'll move to the outside. We'll let the 88 pass. Same thing with Durbin. Durbin will tap the brakes a little bit, dragging on the brake pedal to let the 88 scoot on by. And Aziz has fallen off a ton in that number 14 machine, and is now, last time by, a second and a half back of the 88. That might be a quite larger margin. It's now up to 2 seconds as Whitford nearly running into Blake Warren.
Now that would have thrown a crazy wrench into things.
Yeah, last thing that 88 machine, the driver of that 88 wants to see and hear is the caution coming out before we get to the 5 laps to go mark. It has been a 1 caution affair so far tonight. Other than that caution, our only multi-car incident of the night, it has been a quiet race so far. And Zach Rogers looking to turn the noise here and trying to get around to take the 5 laps to go. The point of no return here, lap number 81. Or lap number 86 of the night, I should say. Half a lap to go until we're at the point of no return. 14 cars still out on track. Connor Edwards and Corbin Wentz, the only 2 that have been knocked out of the race so far. Off turns 3 and 4, it'll be 5, count 'em, 5 laps to go for the Bulldogs. Zach Rogers looking to get 7th heaven in the win total here tonight. And Focusado right now trying to hold on a little bit for a sliver of hope for a championship. RJ Bishop has fallen back outside of the top 3. Drew Fast trying to catch it up to that 37, but it looks like time might not be running out for Focusado just yet. Of course, Rogers with another good run next week could absolutely end the championship aspirations for Focusado. 4 laps to go. It looks like the only question right now for Zach Rogers is paper or plastic, because it looks like he's got it in the bag right now, Caleb.
Absolutely. He's been absolutely on a hot streak, especially in this race. Definitely had his fair share of competition, but just did such a great job. Pretty much flawless here today from the Pikes Peak International Raceway. Coming to 3 laps to go this time by LEDH has been on rails all day, and like you said, looking for his seventh win of the season, and looking to just about clinch the championship, although Focusato has done everything that he needs to do to try and hang on, try and keep those championship hopes alive coming out of tonight's race, but all he needs is another good run next week, and that championship might as well just be placed in the hands of the 88 Rogers. 2 to go here from Pikes Peak.
Sticks high in the air here at Pikes Peak International as the man who sponsored this race, Ike Durbin. Birthday man, not quite going to get the Trevor Bain happy birthday Ike Durbin 29 years old win call, but still pretty solid race for Ike here tonight. But the man in front of him has been the man of the last hour so far. White flag in the air one more time around the Pikes Peak International Raceway for Zach Rogers. Started on pole, is going to lead the most laps here tonight. Just needs to traverse around another half a mile. Crystal Bennett blinking in front of Rogers. Out of mind at the moment right now. And that's going to do it. Seventh heaven for the Bulldog as off of turns 3 and 4. Checkered flag in the air. Zach Rogers in Team Velocity back in victory lane. They win Pikes Peak at Pikes Peak. Tala Aziz will get second.
Rogers.
Rogers will get the win. Tala Aziz will get second. And Vincenzo Focusato will round out in third. His championship hopes not quite dead yet. And a fantastic race here this evening at the Pikes Peak International Raceway. Zach Rogers, win number 7 on the season here in race number 9. And winning 8 out of the first 9 contests. Team Velocity, they have been on a heater. Zach Rogers, he's going to Gatorade victory lane here tonight. He's going to burn it down on the front straightaway. Getting the job done here at Pikes Peak International, leading 58 laps of the scheduled 80, and pulling the strategy well to a T. Big part of the reason why he is one of the best. All of NR offline here. Hey, he's gonna do a little bit of a, I don't know what you call this, a little Shane Van Gisbergen, John Force, and a little bit of a Polish victory lap thrown into here. A little bit of a backwards burnout. I don't think I've seen that one before, Caleb.
Let him cook.
Hey, when you've won as much as Zach Rogers has, you're always finding out new ways to celebrate, and Rogers will park it.
Get to experiment a bit.
Why not? Zach Rogers going to Gatorade victory lane here this evening as we take a look at the official standings. Zach Rogers, Tala Aziz, and Vincenzo Focusato round out your podium. Drew Fast and RJ Bishop round out the top 5. Nicky Conti, last car on the lead lap. Brandon Whitford, a good top 10 run for that 131 machine. Emmy Schizzato, Crystal Bennett, and Ike Durbin. Ike Durbin on his birthday will get a nice top 10 finish. Blake Warren, Tim Galley Jr., Trek Togger, and Tyler Stallhood will round out the cars that finish the race here this evening. Connor Edwards and Corbin Wentz, the only 2 cars that retired from the race, finishing this race 47 and 38 laps down, respectively, here for tonight. But that is only the first part of our show here this evening. In just a couple of moments, we'll get right into the post-race show. We'll talk with everybody in your podium here tonight. Zach Rogers getting it done for the 7th time this season. He is your winner at Pikes Peak. We'll be just back in just a couple of moments here for the post-race show for the Fuel Grand National Series on the North American Sim Racing Network. We welcome you back to tonight's coverage of the Fuel Racing League round number 9 here at the Pikes Peak International Raceway, and we're getting right into our post-race show here. After the Ikes Peak at Pikes Peak, a fantastic race here this evening. Trey Wright and Caleb Rose on the call here tonight, and we'll get straight into our post-race show. But Caleb, opening thoughts on tonight's race. Only one caution affair here this evening. Zach Rogers getting the job done. We'll talk to him here in just a little bit, but opening thoughts here post-race.
It was definitely quite the interesting race here from Pikes Peak. Like I said, definitely saw a lot of crazy racing. Saw a lot of guys slipping and sliding around throughout pretty much the entirety of the race. Saw some very interesting strategy in play there, especially after that caution flag came out and really extended that pit window. And just some very fun racing overall here, and very dominating win there by the 88er Rogers. Like I said, he did have his fair share of competition there, which was definitely quite interesting to watch, but still, Rogers just played it cool and managed to still cruise off there to his 7th win of the season. Just, I guess, what Rogers does best there. But what a win there for Zach Rogers. And, man, that was a very, very fun race there from Pikes Peak.
It definitely was. And a little McNugget here before we'll get into our post-race interviews. The top 3 of Rogers, Aziz, and Focusato, they finished exactly where they started. For Rogers, who started first, Aziz started in second, and Focusato started in third. But bringing up the ladder driver,
was moved to your channel.
bringing him into the channel here and right now. Driver the number 37, Momo Mazda from Millennium Autosports. Vincenzo Focusato, you got a copy of us here in the broadcast booth?
Read you loud and clear, Trey.
Well, you were able to finish exactly where you started in that 3rd spot, and you're able to thankfully keep your championship hopes alive with just being a couple of spots behind Zach Rogers, but coming into a very technical track that is Pikes Peak, a very flat oval. We saw a lot of drivers having issues running around here. What was your strategy coming into tonight's race, knowing that you had to stay behind the 88 in order to keep your Season 7 championship hopes alive?
Well, to be realistic, the championship's out of reach at this point. I know that the math says there's a technical maybe way it can, but obviously as long as Zach makes appearances the next couple weeks, the trophy will be his. So I tried to approach the race the same as any other week and lock the car down. I had a lot of trouble spinning when I was practicing here last year, so I just eventually gave up going for speed and tried to lock the car down and make it tight. Brought the setup back, freed it up just a tick, and tried to keep it off the wall, keep it off other cars, and see where I ended up. But yeah, it was a good time racing Zach and Tala out there. I'll be honest, I forgot what the question was. I talked myself right off track, so I'm sorry if I missed it.
You pretty much answered it, just coming into today, the strategy coming into today with everything on the line. But no, you answered it perfectly to a T. But going into that final set of pit stops there, that long green flag run, we haven't seen green flag pit stops here in quite some time here in the Fuel Racing League. I'm trying to remember the last time we had green flag pit stops this season. But going into those live pit stops, and especially when you're right on the back end of the 88, how much does Zach surprise you when he, going through turn 4, pulled off instead of going on the access road, was like, turning left into the pit lane? How much did that really surprise you and kind of change your strategy a little bit?
I was thinking that out loud the 10 or so laps leading up to pit stops, actually. We were talking in practice about whether or not it'd be safer and faster to use the access road or to bypass it, so I was waiting to see what everyone else did. Tala took the access road, Zach skipped it, so it didn't appear to be a clear choice. You know, the 2 cars I could see, they split it between them, so I didn't really know what to do. I picked the access road myself just out of fear, because I messed up the turn 4 entry several times in practice, and I just scared myself into taking the safe way, and I think I did a terrible job, because I lost like a good 5 or 6 seconds to Zach during that pit cycle. I would not have passed him or won the race anyway, but I lost so much time to him, and I was like, lesson learned. I should practice that next time, next year, if we come back to Pikes Peak. But luckily still did it cleanly.
Yeah, I think, and we definitely should come back to Pikes Peak. This is a fantastic facility with a lot of really great racing and some good clean racing out there. A couple of drivers got into some single car spins, like we said, but overall, only one caution on the boards here tonight. But the Chaos race, I got a feeling, is going to be next week. St. Felician, the Napa Auto Care Halloween Classic, or whatever the race is. That's going to be quite an interesting race. And what are your thoughts going into that race with 2 races to go, trying to get some sliver of a championship hopes? Just what are your thoughts going into St. Felician next week?
Well, same as most weeks. It's mostly just looking forward to the race. I know I talk up most races because this league is just fun, so pretty much every week is a fun race. But I'm really psyched for next week. We are going to a short track that, well, first of all, we're going to a short track. Second of all, we're going to one that hardly any league ever touches. And I don't know, that's something that is always a treat and that I really cherish the ability to do in this game. I love going to adventurous tracks, be they real or fictitious. So the chance to try a new one is always something special, and I can't thank Brendan enough for picking that. So I'm really looking forward to next week's race.
Yeah, it's the Napa Auto Pro Fall Classic at Autodrome St. Felician. That's going to be kicking off here on Wednesday, October 29th. But Caleb, you got any further questions for our third place finisher tonight?
Well, definitely have to say that was quite the exhilarating race there. Pikes Peak is always usually a very, very fun racetrack. Always usually produces some very interesting racing, but definitely have to give you a lot of credit there for that one. Did everything you needed to do there to try and keep your championship hopes alive. To the 88 of Zach Rogers. Definitely wish you nothing but the best of luck there in that endeavor, as well as in the, I guess, all-time points for this year as well. It definitely gives you a lot of leeway there in that as well. So definitely looking forward to seeing what you can do here in the coming weeks, and congratulations on a podium finish here tonight from Pikes Peak.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Caleb. I'm, however points shake out, I'm having a good time week in, week out racing with all these people on all these tracks. So we got 2 more before the year closes out, so ready to go have some fun.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
That's all you can ask. That's all you can ask for, is to have fun, especially in a close, tight-knit racing league like this. But we'll give you the floor, Vincenzo, to shout at anybody you want. We know in the comments section of the live chat, we had a Cameron Hallen saying a 5-place grid penalty to Vincenzo for not advertising this race to his friends tonight. So now's your time to shout them out. Now's your time to advertise. Hey, I finished 3rd. So go ahead. The floor is yours, my man.
Yeah. I don't know what I'd do without your support, Cameron. I couldn't do this without you calling for penalties and wishing you were the steward so that you could kick me down the order. I'm glad you're my friend, and I'm glad you're not a steward. Same goes for you, Andrew. I appreciate you guys tuning in a ton. Sorry you couldn't make it out this week, but looking forward to the next race you can, Andrew. Dad, anyone from Team EFR who's watching, anyone else who may be watching the broadcast, and everybody from the Fuel admin team and from the NASRN team. Thank you guys once more for bringing all the action to us.
You're the ones who got the action on track. We're the ones who broadcasted, and you were able to broadcast a beautiful 3rd place run for tonight, Vincenzo. Congratulations on the run, and see you next week at St. Felician. That's going to be a banger of a race.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thank you.
User was moved out of your channel.
That was Vincenzo Focusato, driver of the number 37 Momo Mazda for Millennium Autosport. And now we'll get into our runner-up finisher for tonight's contest. Driver of the number 14 Ally Banking Ford Mustang, Tala Aziz. You got a copy of us here in the broadcast booth?
Aye.
Well, you were certainly able to have a really solid race in your first race since Darlington of this season, if I'm not mistaken. You're able to fight for the race lead a lot with Zach Rogers, but unfortunately, the difference in tire wear was the ultimate factor at the end of this race. But first off, coming into a flat track like the Pikes Peak International Raceway, what was your initial strategy coming into here tonight?
Just, I guess, find it, just be consistent and just hold my own, because I wasn't, I decided to race, basically an hour before the server went up, and I didn't have a setup made. I had a Crystal Bennett give me basically a setup she was working on. It wasn't a complete setup, but it was basically a blueprint I could work off of then. So after a lot of tweaking and practice, I found something I really liked with the tire temps and how it felt as well in the long run. And I didn't expect to be basically in the top three tonight, but I was basically behind Zach most of the race.
Yeah, but you were able to get a nice little couple of runs on him. You're able to lead about 9 laps on the docket here tonight. But going into that final pit stop, you hit a very, very one of the first ones to come down the pit lane for the lead lap drivers. You came down 8 laps before everybody else, where you're just trying to get a little bit of an undercut and hoping that the a fresh rubber that Rogers would put on would be a little too late to do anything to it.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shot in the dark type of strategy. My right rear was yellow, and I started really feeling again losing time, and I felt like if I didn't at least try something, I was gonna lose more time in positions rather than like go to extra 8 laps. And I wasn't really sure when people were gonna pit anyways. But I realized after like 3-4 laps after I pitted, I realized I went way too early, and yeah, it didn't work, but it is what it is. I tried something, but I'm still really happy with the run I had today.
Yeah, and you had a great run here tonight, a good runner-up finish, too, one of the best in NR2003 online, but you're making your second start of the season here tonight, if I'm not mistaken, second or third. I'm trying to remember if you had another start here in 2025. But looking ahead to next week, any chance we see you at Autodrome St. Felician? That track is going to be a wild card, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We hope you're hopefully there. Will you be?
I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll see. It depends if I got anything going on that day and if I feel like racing that day. Usually Wednesdays are my days I don't race in leagues unless if I'm like bored, I want to just try something. So, we'll see.
We'll definitely hope to see you here next week at St. Felician. Caleb, you got anything for our runner-up finisher tonight?
It's all definitely nice to see you back here racing in the series, and that was definitely a fantastic running there to come back to. That was a great race you drove there, and they took it to Zach Rogers quite a couple times there, battling for the race lead. Definitely have to ask, touch on the hypothetical. Is there anything you think you maybe could have done there, racing or strategy wise, to maybe get closer, at least to the 88 or Rogers, or I don't know. Just what's your thoughts on that?
I could have probably saved my right rear a bit more. I was so focused on my right front the entire race that I kind of neglected my right rear a bit. So maybe if I saved that would not send me into a way where I try to do that gambling stop. It probably would have changed the outcome, but I probably would have still had a better shot. Now looking back at it, but hindsight's 2020. I took a gamble then, it didn't work, but I still didn't lose anything from it too. So I can't really complain about that at the end of the day. So
That was still a very fantastic run there, and definitely have to give you major props for that. So congratulations on tonight's run. That was a fantastic showing.
thank you, and thank you guys for broadcasting.
Yeah, it definitely was. And Tala, before you go, we'll give you the floor to shout out anybody you want here on the NESRN airwaves, any sponsors you want to thank. The floor is yours, my man.
Again, a shout out to Crystal for giving me like a setup to work off of. I felt like if she probably didn't give that one to me, I probably would have not had as good of a setup as I did, because I only changed a few things, but most of the setup she made. So big shout out to her for that one. Shout out to Allied for sponsoring me, and again, shout out to you guys for broadcasting it.
Definitely appreciate all the support we got on the driver's side of things. Congratulations, Tala, on a nice runner-up finish, and we'll hopefully see you next week up in Canada.
Thank you guys. Have a great night.
You as well.
User was moved out of your channel.
That was Tala Aziz, driver of the number 14 Ally Ford Mustang for Racing. Well, a nice second-place runner-up finish here tonight, but now the man of the hour that we have gotten pretty accustomed to hearing from all season long, driving the number 88 Digital Storm Chevy Camaro for Team Velocity Racing, the Bulldog himself, Mr. Zach Rogers. You got a copy of us in the broadcast booth.
Yeah, what's up, Trey?
Nothing much. You're the one that's been up on the top of this pylon for the majority of this season. 7th heaven, your 7th win of the season coming tonight at a very, very fun race for both Caleb and I in the broadcast booth, and you're able to get the job done. But you were under fire from quite a lot of good talent with both Tulla and Drew Fast in the early portions of this race. Were you
Drew's
holding,
good talent.
considering he was able to get around you and pass you? I figured
I mean,
if
if you call
you're holding back a
turning your
little bit.
stuff up and falling 6 seconds back before we all bid, I guess that's good talent.
Well, he's been fast a little bit there, and he was able to get around you. But we know that you were trying to hold off a little bit, let everybody burn up your stuff, and yeah, it was pretty much your strategy, wasn't it? Right?
Yeah, I was just trying to keep the tires under it. This thing gets real loose at the end of the run. We didn't really see what the true end of a run would look like because of where that one yellow fell, but still have to take care of it. Didn't want it to get tight too early. Didn't want it to get loose too early.
Yeah, and you were able to just power that 88 machine all the way around this track, and you were puttering around there for a good moment, a good bit. You were leading, able to lead 58 of the 80 laps here tonight, and yeah, it's pretty much just another cut and dry winning from the pole race for you tonight. But overall, thoughts on racing at a track like Pikes Peak, a very very racy track for a flat track.
Yeah, it's a really fun track. We ran a different version of this track last year at both here at Fuel and at Fast, which is fixed setup, and I got to win both of those. Did really good on this version in Sportsman last year, but that had a late race yellow that unfortunately with a move I was trying to make at the end of that one, we didn't get the W there. But yeah, it's a fun track. It's right up my alley. You have to trail brake just a little bit going into the corner to get it to bite a certain way, and then you kind of just keep a little throttle going in to get it to continue the bite, and then you can kind of coast for a sec, and then you like play with the throttle a little bit, and then you can kind of ease into it or roll into it, and then you just kind of stop on it, and the rest is just keeping the wheel steady so that it doesn't get too out of control coming off the corner, and that's how you get in and out of the turns here.
Yeah, and you were able to have a really, really solid race here tonight, getting the dub. But looking ahead to Autodrome St. Felician next week, where you'll essentially have locked up the title with a nice run there next week. But it's a pretty big wild card track, all things considered. It's a nice flat track up in Quebec. What are your expectations going into that race, knowing that, hey, it's not a whole lot of people have raced here online, so what are your expectations going into next week?
I don't really have any. I've never been there, so I don't know what to tell you. I've seen like kind of a rough map of what it is and the idea of the banking. So yeah, we'll see. Probably Martinsville setup might work out. Could even maybe take this setup and just shorten up the transmission, but we'll see. I won't spend too much time on it. Like you said, I just kind of got to show up next week. I'm really looking forward to Homestead as the finale. That's about it here for the season. Next week's the one throwaway week. And by throwaway week, I mean like a third or a fourth place finish.
Yeah, well, hey, we had the throwaway week last week at Talladega as well, but you're back here in Victory Lane tonight, getting the job done for the 7th time this season. Caleb, you got any more questions for our race winner for the 7th time here in Season 7?
Another day, another Zach Rogers victory. That was a great performance there, especially with the competition from guys like Tala Aziz, Vincenzo Focusato, and True Fast. But hey, kept your cool through it all. Managed to wind up there in Victory Lane once everything is said and done. That was a great run here tonight, and definitely pretty much just about have the championship on lock. So that's some great stuff there over in that regards. But definitely wish you nothing but the best of luck here in these final couple of races of the season, and I guess have to see if we can lock the championship up next time around. But we'll have to see, man. Great.
Oh, according to what I'm reading here, even if I missed it with a provisional, it's a pretty much a lock. I honestly could have put it in my win post on Facebook that it was my 19th championship on this game, but we'll just wait for it to be absolutely official next week. You never know. The way the fuel rulebook is written, sometimes I almost wonder if I travel that line of what is not respectful to maybe saying in an interview, I might get a points penalty. So you never know. Tyler could listen to my interview and be like, I don't really like what you're saying about your other drivers there. There goes 40 points. I mean, I don't know. I don't think he would do that, but I
Like you
think it
said
would have to
yourself,
be a
a
lot
hurricane could hit.
more. I think it would have to be a lot more egregious than how this interview started off. But you never know.
If you got like rocket fuel in the car, like we were saying during practice or something like that.
I had rocket fuel at the end when I cranked up my track bar to 10.5.
Oh, good
So,
lord, yeah, that's rocket fuel and a little dash of something there. But Zach, we'll give you the floor here to shout out your sponsors who've gotten a ton of screen time over these last 9 weeks or so. But the floor is yours for the 7th time here in this season. The
yeah,
floor is yours.
just to explain real quick too, though. So for those that don't know, in open setup racing versus fixed setup racing, the fuel weight does matter for the handling of your car into, through, and out of the corner. So anytime you're in fixed setup, you always want to have the gas tank full. If you've got enough tire wear to warrant pitting, you want to fill up the gas, even if it's at the end of the race where you don't need gas. You want to fill the gas up so you can get all the weight in the rear of the car to help you turn through the corner. Open setup, a lot of guys used to just fill the gas up all the same, but what I've learned in the last year or two is that you're actually better off raising the track bar. So the less fuel you have in the car, the more track bar you can raise. It does change how the car turns, so you have to be a little ready for that. But most tracks, if you run a base 8.5 track bar, which I pretty much run 8.5 everywhere, which benefits this strategy, it's easy to go up to like 10.5 or even all the way up to 12. If I had gone maybe 5 laps longer, I would have done that. I could have gone 5 more laps, but I didn't want to risk losing too much time. So, but you raise the track bar and it works all the same, and it's actually a more stable way to get short run speed at the end of the race. So I was able to just pop it into third gear and just pretty much use as much throttle through the corner as I wanted to help keep the car pinned to the white line. And that's why I was able to rattle off a bunch of 1s and 2s there as I closed in on Tala like a rocket with nitrous, as you might say. So, but yeah, I got to thank Tyler for the league. Finally finalized the sponsorship for Homestead. I'm happy to announce it's going to be called Liquid Death. Don't be scared. It's just Zach Rogers 100, because don't be scared. I'm not full time after this season for a while, most likely. So a little bit of a funny race sponsor, I think. So yeah, we could just kind of shorten it, maybe call it Don't Be Scared. It's just Zach Rogers. Tyler's going to do the logo for that. He says he's going to have some fun with it. So I'm a little scared what he might come up with. I hope it's just not my face on the logo.
I guarantee you it's just going to be a 240
shining moment with my face like bursting through it. I don't know.
It's going to be a 240p version of your face with just
Oh,
impact text on it.
God, I hope not. But yeah, I got to thank him for the league. I got to thank you for the broadcast, of course. Got to thank my painter, Cody Lamas, for the great paint schemes. I was actually, I think I told you in a message before the race, but I was like, man, like I didn't realize how few night races we had this season. So I had to get the digital storm colors out at least one more time. We'll probably run this scheme again next week. And then honestly, kind of a toss up on the Homestead scheme. I don't know. Red Bull Spinebuster schemes, they're both so nice. I'd like to run both of them if I could, but we'll see what I'm feeling when we get to that week. But yeah, also shout out to my teammate Jolene. She wasn't here tonight. I don't know what she had going on last week. Haven't heard from her, but hope all is good in her world, and I hope to see her maybe for one of these last 2 races. And of course, shout out to Ike. Happy birthday, you old fart. You're a year older than me, so I can say that. Actually, more like half a year, but we don't count in half years. So, yeah, he old.
He's old, but he's still one of the greatest characters we've got here in the Fuel Racing League, and so are you. Zach, congratulations on your 7th win of the season here tonight. We'll see you next week, where you will hopefully clinch the championship 1 race early at the St. Felician race. Congratulations, and go enjoy the win.
Yeah, as long as I don't lose internet or something, then I can make it. But even with the provisional, I think it's pretty much a lock. But yeah, I would like to at least be here for the race and get to run it, because you know it's not every day you get to run a track. Nobody's run online really. So
set to be a great race next week, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, man.
User was moved out of your channel.
That was Zach Rogers, driver of the number 88 Digital Storm Chevrolet Camaro for Team Velocity, getting the job done here tonight, and that is going to wrap things up for tonight's broadcast here at the Pikes Peak International Raceway. Final thoughts on this race, Caleb? As actually, no, we're not gonna officially wrap things up yet. Almost forgot to go ahead and take a look at some of these incidents here. Almost forgot it. Almost forgot. We don't almost forget here. Good Lord. Not sure if Caleb is still with us or not, but looking to go ahead and see what happened to bring out the first caution of the night here, as everybody was coming down the pit lane. Do a little behind the scenes action here. We're going to throw up, actually, that's the old replay graphic, but at this point, not really a big care in the world. Taking a look and see what happened. Oh, so this was what happened to put us under our only caution of the evening tonight. Was Tyler Stallhood hooking the 60 machine of Trek Togger in the left rear quarter panel. And yeah, Trek didn't really lose the 60 machine. I'm surprised this was called a yellow. Oh, and then Tyler just about lost it in the 7, so I guess that was affectionately enough for a multi. But yeah, that was our only caution of the evening, and we had a couple more incidents you saw during the live stream. But Caleb, if you're there, final thoughts on this race. A very good race, but another race where Zach Rogers dominating wire to wire pretty much and winning his 7th race of the season.
I'm still here, but yeah, it was definitely a very, very fun race here from Pikes Peak. Really like this track, and this race absolutely delivered on that. Saw some great racing, like I said, and definitely had quite a bit of calamity in there as well. Only had one caution, but still had a lot of incidents there to go along with it. But still, some great racing here tonight, and a great battle for the lead there pretty much about all night long. And Zach Rogers, despite all that competition, was able to hang on and secure there his 7th win of the season, and pretty much just about securing that championship here in his season for the Fuel Grand National Series. But what a race here from Pikes Peak. Definitely very, very exciting, and I'm definitely happy to be up here in the booth for one of these races once again. That was absolutely a lot of fun, and definitely cannot wait to see how these next couple races will go as well. Next week is definitely going to be very interesting. That's a track that I don't think I've heard of, but definitely seems very intriguing, and that's going to be interesting to see how it all ends up shaking out.
Definitely is. We just got the point scenario breakdown from Tyler Stallhood. So Rogers is 191 points over Vincenzo Focusato going into Autodrome St. Felician next week. And with the provisional in his pocket, that's basically a 100% lock on the Season 7 championship for Zach Rogers. But words are hard, but Focusato in the 2025 points battle has extended that lead to 109 over Apollo Hyde. So Hyde now a full race's worth of points behind Focusato, and if Hyde doesn't show up to the race of St. Felician next week, that is essentially going to give Focusato the championship for 2025 early on, and also for the Rookie of the Year battle as well. Emi Schizzato holds a 122-point lead over Drew Fast coming in or out of tonight. So Emi Schizzato, she's able to hold on by 100 points or more after going into Homestead in a week's time. She'll be the Rookie of the Year in that number 9 machine. But that is going to do it for tonight's coverage of... That's going to do it here for tonight's coverage. If I can try and get some words, it is 10:30 and I've been up for about 16 hours time. So going to do one final run through the entire field here for all 16 cars. Zach Rogers, the race winner, led 58 laps tonight. Tala Aziz, a nice second place run for Tala as he's able to get a nice runner-up finish. And Vincenzo Focusato rounding out the podium in 3rd. Drew Fast finished 4th. Rounding out the top 5 with RJ Bishop. Nicky Conti finishes 6th. Brendan Whitford 7th. Emi Schizzato 8th. The 84 of Crystal Bennett with another top 10 run in 9th. Ike Durbin, the birthday boy, rounds out the top 10. 11th was Blake Warren. 12th, Tim Gallade Jr. 13th, Trek Togger. 14th, Tyler Stallhood. 15th was Connor Edwards. And 16th was Corbin Wentz to round out the round out the field for tonight's race here at the Pikes Peak International Speedway. But that's going to do it here for tonight's coverage of the Fuel Racing League. Congratulations once again to Zach Rogers for winning Ikes Peak at Pikes Peak. And we'll be back on the air next Wednesday evening up in Quebec. I don't know how to speak French, so I'm not going to speak French here until next week. I got a week to learn how to speak in French. But that will be the Napa Auto Pro Fall Classic from Autodrome St. Félicien coming at you next Wednesday, October 29th. Pre-race gets kicked off at 8:55 Eastern Time, and race time 9:15 here on the North American Sim Racing Network. But on behalf of Caleb Rose, once again thanking him for joining on here as color commentator, and on behalf of everybody at the Fuel Racing League and the North American Sim Racing Network, my name is Trey Wright saying so long from Fountain, Colorado, here for tonight's coverage of the Fuel Racing League Grand National Series here on the North American Sim Racing Network. Have a great evening, folks.